Every year, mountains of used clothing end up compressed into giant bales, ready to disappear from closets and enter an industrial process that seems almost impossible. T-shirts, pants, jackets, and worn fabrics are sorted, shredded, washed, converted into fiber, spun again, and transformed into denim. From tons of discarded garments, new jeans are born, mass-produced. The process begins long before a machine touches the first garment. The industrial transformation of used clothing into new jeans depends on a collection network capable of gathering enormous volumes of material. Urban containers, stores, municipal campaigns, collection centers, and take-back programs concentrate garments that have already left the circuit of everyday use. At these points, cotton t-shirts, worn-out pants, synthetic jackets, shirts, uniforms, bedding, and textile scraps from various origins are mixed together. When the collected volume reaches a sufficient scale, the clothing is compacted into bales. This compaction allows for the efficient movement of tons of material, reduces the space occupied during transport, and facilitates the logistics of receiving the garment at the plant. Each bale functions as a capsule of accumulated consumption. Inside, there can be garments from several years ago, fabrics from different decades, mixed colors, natural fibers, synthetic fibers, and combinations that the textile industry uses on a massive scale. Upon arrival at the plant, the bales are unloaded and moved to a receiving area. There, an initial inspection begins to separate what can be resold as second-hand clothing from what must enter the recycling process. This first separation is important because mechanical recycling consumes energy, machinery, and technical expertise. If a garment can still be reused directly, its useful life continues without needing to destroy its structure. In contrast, damaged, stained, torn, or excessively worn items move on to the transformation process. Next comes one of the most crucial stages, sorting. The clothing moves along conveyor belts while specialized operators and automated systems evaluate each piece. They check the fiber type, predominant color, fabric thickness, condition, and the presence of foreign materials. A white cotton t-shirt doesn't behave the same as stretch pants made of a polyester and elastane blend. A black-dyed garment requires different handling than a light-colored one. A heavy fabric needs a different cutting and shredding setup than a lightweight fabric. The fiber composition largely determines the industrial fate of the materials. Cotton is especially valuable for making recycled denim because it offers a natural feel, moisture absorption, and a texture compatible with jeans production. Polyester provides strength but has different thermal and mechanical properties. Elastane adds elasticity, although it can complicate some processes when present in high proportions. That's why material separation is essential. A poorly sorted batch produces irregular fibers, unpredictable yarns, and fabrics with problems of strength, shrinkage, or premature wear. Technology helps accelerate this process. Many modern factories use optical sensors capable of analyzing garment composition in real time. These systems identify how each material responds to specific wavelengths, allowing them to distinguish between cotton, polyester, wool, nylon, viscose, and other fibers. Manual sorting remains important, but automation allows for processing much larger volumes without sacrificing accuracy. In an industry that processes tons per day, a few seconds per garment makes a huge difference. Once the material is separated by fiber type and color, the next step is the removal of non-textile components. Buttons, zippers, rivets, buckles, rigid labels, plastic parts, and metal fragments must be removed before the garments enter the cutting and shredding machinery. These items can damage blades, block conveyor systems, generate sparks, or contaminate the final material. In the case of used jeans, this stage is especially important because many garments include rivets, metal zippers, snaps, and reinforcements. The prepared material then moves to the industrial cutting systems. The garments cease to be recognizable units and are fragmented into smaller pieces. High-precision blades cut the fabrics into uniform sections, allowing for more consistent shredding. If the fragments are of very different sizes, some will break down too quickly while others resist the process, resulting in an uneven mix. Uniformity is essential for obtaining quality fibers. After cutting, the fragments enter high-powered shredders. Cylinders armed with blades, spikes, or metal teeth tear through the fabric's structure. The threads that were once intertwined gradually separate, and the fabric loses its original shape. In just a few seconds, an old t-shirt, shirt, or pair of pants becomes a mass of loose fibers. The goal is not to grind the material into powder, but to open up the fabric to recover as much usable fiber as possible. During shredding, fine particles, textile dust, and small debris are generated. Vacuum systems remove these remnants to protect the machinery, improve workplace safety, and maintain product quality. Additionally, industrial magnets capture any metal fragments that may have survived the previous stages. These controls are essential because the recycled fiber must later be spun into yarn, and any contamination can break filaments, create defects, or ruin large production batches. At the end of this first major transformation, the garment ceases to exist as a garment. There are no more sleeves, pockets, seams, or sizes. Only a base fiber remains, still mixed with microscopic impurities, traces of dyes, dust, grease, fabric softeners, and residues accumulated over years of use. Even so, the main change has already occurred. Textile waste has been transformed into a recoverable raw material. From this point on, the process no longer resembles domestic recycling and enters the realm of textile engineering. The fibers enter multi-stage washing systems. Unlike domestic washing, here every variable is controlled according to industrial standards. The water temperature, pressure, exposure time, pH, concentration of cleaning agents, and agitation speed are adjusted according to the type of fiber and the degree of contamination. The goal is to remove impurities, neutralize chemical residues, and stabilize the material so that it can withstand the subsequent stages. In the first tanks, fats and organic contaminants are removed. Hot water and bio-based cleaning agents help loosen particles adhering to the fibers. Then, other baths target soluble residues, remnants of degraded dyes, and substances that could interfere with subsequent dyeing. Each tank performs a specific function within a progressive sequence. What one stage loosens, the next washes away. What one stage dissolves, the next neutralizes. The process is constantly monitored. If the temperature rises too high, certain fibers become brittle. If the pH deviates, the material's surface can be altered. If the exposure time is longer than necessary, recycling becomes less efficient and the fiber loses strength. Conversely, when the parameters are kept within the appropriate range, the fiber emerges clean, stable, and much more suitable for becoming a new textile input. After washing, the material undergoes controlled drying. Excess moisture must be removed gradually because overly damp fibers do not perform well in carding or spinning. Drying chambers with circulating hot air reduce moisture without burning or deforming the structure. Temperature, airflow, and duration are precisely calibrated. This stage seems simple, but it defines part of the yarn's future strength. A fiber damaged during drying can break later on the looms, causing defects in entire meters of fabric. Once dry, the fiber moves on to carding. This phase reorganizes the material into a more ordered structure. Before carding, the fibers form a tangled mass with random orientations and varying densities. During carding, cylinders covered with fine metal teeth open, untangle, and align the fibers in a common direction. The result is a kind of uniform textile web, much easier to transform into yarn. Carding also acts as a final mechanical cleaning. As the fibers pass between the cylinders, small trapped particles are dislodged and removed by suction systems. At the same time, the machine distributes the material evenly, avoiding areas that are too dense or too thin. Homogeneity is essential because recycled yarn must have a consistent thickness. Any irregularity will result in weak points, knots, breaks, or visible defects in the fabric. Fiber blends are also adjusted at this stage. Although the goal is to manufacture recycled denim, reclaimed fiber is often combined with a proportion of virgin fiber or complementary fibers. This is done to compensate for the natural loss of length and strength that occurs during mechanical recycling. When a garment is shredded, some of the fibers shorten. And the shorter a fiber is, the harder it is to spin it with good strength. Adding longer fibers can improve yarn, cohesion, and allow the final product to withstand everyday wear and tear. Yarn preparation continues with roving. The carded material is compacted into soft, elongated slivers that don't yet have the strength of yarn, but already possess a defined orientation. These slivers pass through drawing machines, where several rollers rotate at different speeds. The system thins the mass of fibers, uniforms it, and prepares it for twisting. Twist is the physical principle that transforms loose fibers into strong yarn. When the roving enters the spinning frame, the fibers are stretched to the desired diameter and then twisted upon themselves. This twist interlocks the filaments into a helical structure. Without twist, the fibers would separate when tension is applied. With the correct twist, the yarn can withstand industrial weaving, washing, sewing, and wear. The amount of twist is adjusted according to the intended use. Denim yarn needs a balance of strength, thickness, flexibility, and dyeability. Modern machinery monitors the process in real time. Sensors detect variations in thickness, weak areas, impending breaks, or changes in tension. When an irregularity appears, the system can correct the speed, adjust the tension, or stop a section before the defect spreads. In a mass production plant, this capability is crucial. A small error repeated for minutes can produce kilometers of defective yarn. The finished yarns are wound onto spools and undergo quality testing. Tensile strength, elongation, diameter, regularity, and stability are all measured. Spools that meet specifications move on to weaving. Those that don't meet the standard are separated for reprocessing or less demanding applications. At this point, the transformation is remarkable. Discarded, torn, and compressed clothing has been transformed into industrial yarn. The manufacture of jeans begins when recycled yarns arrive at the weaving and dyeing area. There, the recovered material enters a stage that combines textile tradition with advanced automation. Denim has a characteristic construction. It uses a twill weave in which the yarns cross each other, forming a visible diagonal. This structure provides strength, flexibility, and a recognizable texture. That's why jeans withstand friction, frequent washing, and years of use better than many lightweight fabrics. Before weaving, the warp yarns are usually dyed with indigo. The warp is the set of longitudinal yarns placed on the loom. In classic denim, these yarns are dyed blue, while the weft yarns are usually kept lighter. The result is a fabric where blue dominates the outer surface, but the interior retains paler tones. This combination explains the typical look of jeans and also the way they wear over time. Indigo dyeing has a particular technical aspect. Unlike other dyes that penetrate deep into the fiber, indigo primarily dyes the outer layer of the yarn. This allows the blue surface to wear away with wear and washing, revealing lighter areas underneath. The visual aging of jeans doesn't happen by accident. It's linked to the dye's chemistry, the yarn's structure, and the weave pattern. In industrial plants, dyeing takes place in closed, controlled systems. The yarns pass through repeated indigo baths, oxidize upon contact with air, and are re-immersed until the desired intensity is reached. Each cycle modifies the final color. Temperature, pH, dye concentration, feed rate, and exposure time determine the uniformity of the blue. In the case of recycled fibers, this control is even more important because the material may come from garments with different histories. The plant needs to produce a stable color, even if the raw material originated from diverse batches. After dyeing, the yarns are prepared for weaving. Industrial looms interlace warp and weft at high speed, following digitally configured patterns. The fabric density, yarn thickness, and tension determine the denim's weight, tear resistance, and performance during use. Heavier denim can be used for durable jeans, lighter denim can be used for more flexible garments. Mass production allows these variables to be adjusted according to the final design. As the fabric comes off the loom, it is continuously inspected. Machine vision systems detect color variations, knots, broken threads, loose areas, stains, or irregularities in the twill's diagonal. Every meter of fabric must meet precise standards because any defect will be multiplied when cutting hundreds or thousands of pairs of trousers. Automation allows for the inspection of enormous surfaces at a speed impossible for the human eye, although technical supervision is still necessary to make decisions about entire batches. The accepted fabric undergoes stabilization processes. The width is controlled, the possibility of shrinkage is reduced, and the texture is adjusted. Pressing, steaming, and other treatments help to fix the dimensions before sewing. This stage prevents the finished jeans from changing too much after the first few washes. Dimensional stability is key for consistent sizing and for the garment to maintain its shape. Then comes the cutting. Rolls of recycled denim are spread out on automated tables in several layers. A digital system organizes the patterns for each piece: fronts, backs, pockets, waistbands, belt loops, and gussets. The software arranges the shapes to use as much fabric as possible. In mass production, cutting efficiency has both economic and environmental impacts. A small amount of waste per garment can add up to tons of wasted material by the end of a season. Automatic blades cut multiple layers with millimeter precision. The scraps generated during cutting are collected and can be returned to the beginning of the recycling cycle. In this way, even internal factory waste becomes part of the circular system. None of this completely eliminates resource consumption, but it reduces dependence on new raw materials and decreases the amount of textile waste sent to landfills or incineration. The cut pieces go to the sewing lines. There, specialized machines assemble each section of the jeans. Pockets are sewn, legs are joined, waistbands are attached, belt loops are added, and seams under stress are reinforced. Jeans stitching requires strength because the garment endures repeated movements, stretching, friction, and washing. That's why reinforced stitches are used in critical areas like the crotch, pockets, and sides. Then the functional components are added: buttons, zippers, rivets, and labels. In traditional jeans, rivets reinforce points where the fabric tends to tear. On an industrial line, these elements are attached using calibrated pressure systems. If the pressure is too low, the rivet will be loose. If it's too high, it will damage the fabric. The machinery adjusts the force according to the thickness of the denim and the position of each piece. Once assembled, the jeans move on to the finishing stage. Here, much of their marketable appearance is defined. Enzymatic washes can be applied to soften the fabric, along with controlled distressing treatments, localized sanding, ozone, lasers, or processes designed to create color contrasts. In the past, many finishes required large amounts of water and harsh chemicals. In the most modern plants, closed systems, laser treatments, and optimized washes aim to reduce environmental impact without sacrificing the desired appearance. The finish must also be reproducible. A brand doesn't manufacture just one pair of jeans, but thousands of units of the same model. Each garment must look like it belongs to the same production run. That's why wash times, enzyme concentration, distressing intensity, and the placement of effects are all precisely controlled. The final aesthetic is the result of an industrial process, not an improvised intervention. Finally, quality control arrives. Each garment is inspected for seams, symmetry, color, button, strength, zipper functionality, rivet stability, measurements, and overall finish. Garments that don't meet the standard are separated. Some can be repaired. Others return to the recycling loop. Only those that pass are folded, labeled, and packaged for distribution. The entire process demonstrates a profound transformation. A used garment enters the system as waste and leaves as a new pair of jeans. Along the way, it is sorted, disassembled, shredded, washed, purified, carded, spun, dyed, woven, cut, sewn, and inspected. Each stage reduces the distance between textile waste and industrial product. The importance of this process extends far beyond a single factory. The fashion industry produces enormous volumes of garments every year, and a significant portion ends up discarded before reaching the end of their useful life. Textile recycling allows us to recover the value of these fibers and reduce the pressure on crops, oil, water, energy, and landfills. Converting tons of used clothing into jeans doesn't solve all the challenges of mass fashion, but it demonstrates that textile waste can cease to be the end of the line. In a modern recycling plant, old clothes don't disappear. They are broken down into their most basic components and reassembled. What was once a shirt, a t-shirt, or worn-out pants can return as blue yarn, as a roll of denim, and finally as a new pair of jeans. The process reveals a powerful idea. Behind every discarded garment, useful material still exists, waiting for the necessary technology to begin again.